You don't just get the perfect staff. You create the perfect staff. You create the environment that gives you that support. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast. We've had a great month. We're building something amazing. I share with you the 3 reasons I think I'm going to succeed. The 3 things I think you need to remember to make your practice successful, regardless of the stage that you're at. We have the closing thought of the episode. This is the Ultimate OD podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD podcast. Thank you for tuning in, listening, likes. Just another Thursday where we're talking optometry, and honestly, these are just the things that are in my head that I'm going through, and I make it a podcast. We talk about it and we go from there. Can you believe January is done? When you listen to this, it will be February of 2025. Time is just flying by. I will tell you that we had our best month ever in January, which is awesome. When we started in the new location, added the doctor, bleeding money out of every place that you can think, and it stinks, right? And you go from a really good situation to bleeding money, and now you're like, am I going to make payroll? Are we going to be able to have rent? You're not paying yourself for weeks, especially when you bring on an associate. It's a lot, and no one really knows, right? No one really knows except you. You get a win, and it feels good. But this is what happened when I first started cold, is you get a win, and then you're like, great, end of the month, and then shoot, it's another month. Now, again, you can be like, you keep the good times going, but I live month to month, and I had a good month, and I know from 13 years plus years of doing this, the expenses from a really good month carry over to the next month. And if you don't keep pace, you'll have a really bad month. It's just the nature of the business. And you have to be able to ride the roller coaster. And there's some things that I'll tell you that have helped me with the ups and downs, the swings that have got me through this. And it's helped me a lot this past few months, this week in general. Number 1 is simplification. Okay? I know the core of our business. I keep it very basic, and I talk about what we do. And I know what moves the needle. It's our basic primary care clinic. And that's making appointments, getting them worked up, seeing the doctor, getting them to the optical, being as efficient as possible as we can do that, and getting our numbers up. Now, there's a million things that will go into that we can be better at. But again, you'll have a lot of outside voices. The front desk that is thinking about this one little bit. The optical that's thinking about X, Y, or Z. The other doctors, you, that want just a little bit here or there. And it's great in a microcosm, and none of them are wrong, right? All their concerns, all the things we can just be better here are absolutely true. But you're the leader. You're the one person that sees every angle, every tree in the forest, and you have to put your effort and energy to what matters. And I've gotten really good at navigating the ship and knowing what moves the needle. We had an amazing month, and I've put a lot of effort and energy into the optical and what they're doing and how they're closing. I've worked with the associate doctor to help her be better at what she's doing, to work within the confines of the office. Don't get me wrong, there's a million things that we can get better at. But if we maintain at the level that we have right now, as long as we get those patients in, which I have my marketing team that I'm constantly managing as well, we would be fine. We'd be great, more than fine. We have an amazing system. We have to polish the edges. And I think you need to get to that point where you simplify it down to what really matters. Case in point, I love dry eye. We do a lot of advanced therapies, and getting them to sign up for IPL, getting them to sign up for low level light therapy, whatever fits their circumstance. It's fun and it's great and it helps the patient. And again, I have a lot of money invested in the IPL. I have a plan for that. But right now, we need our core to start functioning. We need our core to start working. And that's what I focus my time, effort, and energy on. And that's what's given us this momentum that we're building. Because that's what I've done the past 4 months. It's just nothing but that. And that's our core, right? And we're starting to move forward. I could focus on that dry eye stuff and say, hey, we just need to be better at that. But at the end of the day, that's not going to move the needle the same amount as me focusing on the optical. How are they helping pick out frames? How are they communicating with the patient? What are they putting their emphasis on? Right? I've emphasized the things that move the needle, and that's why we're being successful. When I work with the associate doctor, I'm focusing on the things that just make us that little bit, make us at this even playing field, that we're both operating at the same level, get us on the same page. Now, there's ways that you could be like better, and those little things drive you nuts. Like if they're not selling contacts the right way, if they're not doing it to a certain level. But you know what? When I look at the numbers, we're doing okay, right? You have to be able to take a step back and see where you're at. If you instantly hear, we have to be better at this, and you're constantly giving mixed messages and not staying focused to what your core is, your staff is going to be all over the place. They won't know what matters. And it takes months of concerted effort to get them to be on the same page. And we've had a lot of turnover. Know what matters. Know the things that move the needle in your office. And every office is different. That goes to my next point. Play to your strengths. I had a big talk with my office manager this week. And we had a complete turnover of the front desk. Like, we have 3 people that work under her, and 2 of the 3 gone, new people in. Our optical had a complete turnover, and we've been working on that. That's been our primary focus. And our optical team is amazing. I want our optical team, that energy, that teamwork mentality, to be what our entire office is. Because I put all the effort and energy in there. The manager has great people, great opticians, and they're doing awesome work. The front desk, the office manager, her section has been the least talented people, right? So when I looked at her, I'm like, hey, how is managing going? She's like, it sucks. I hate managing the people. And I go, hey, take a step back, look at it. You haven't had much to work with. If I talk about the new people that we hired, it's a lot easier, right? Yes, right? It's perspective. And, one of the things was some of the team that she has, she just hasn't meshed with. And one of the new hires that ended up not working out, she kind of just didn't have a good read on her. Like, I felt I had a better read, and that person just crapped the bed. Just literally ghosted us, stopped showing up. And she was so convinced. We were to the point where I'm getting feedback from her. I didn't feel the same, but she's like, I could have a whole team of her. She'd be great. Almost, we thought about giving her a raise. Like, literally before she left, she was on the way to getting a raise and more responsibility. We liked how she was to a point, but I saw red flags. I've done this enough. I have this sense of like, hey, this is something to watch out for. There's things I value and things that I get really concerned about right away. It made her a little gun shy. She hasn't been through the roller coaster. The thing that I was talking about, how I know how to go with the ups and downs and try to stay even keeled. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. You're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. Right? But she got a little, like, it affects you. And it affected me. I shared with her. When I first started, I started the second office in Coopersville. 3 straight weeks. 3 people every Thursday quit. And they didn't have the courtesy to just tell me or give me 2 weeks. They left the key and said, hey, tell them we're not coming back. Awesome. You wonder, like, you look in the mirror, it's like, is this a me thing? And I've obviously righted the ship, but you have to learn those things. That doesn't sit well. When I tell you You're going to have your own office. You're going to start your business. You think about the perfect staff, all the best situations. That is leadership. You don't just get the perfect staff. You create the perfect staff. You create the environment that gives you that support. You create the environment that gives you that support. And that's why I was talking to her. I'm like, play to your strengths, right? Like our office manager in optical, she's not overly outgoing, but she's very even keeled. She's more of a person to person, like optical mentality, right? Loves working with people. My office manager, great with patients. The people aspect isn't her strong suit. And I'm like, that's fine. You're in your position because you are organized. You have structure. Play to your strengths. A great manager isn't someone that's the best at every single thing. They get the best out of their people. If you get them to operate and function the way you need them to, that's winning. I don't care how you do it, and that's leaning on your people. But you have to set the structure. You have to set the foundation. And when I'm talking to her about building her team, I'm like, you're in charge of who you're hiring for. We hired 2 people. We put one in optical, one in front desk. The optical person, great, outstanding, outgoing personality. Perfect. The front desk person, much more even keeled, doesn't get too high, too low. Very organized, structured. Perfect. Those 2 people are a good fit because they fit the manager's personality. The person in optical is doing great, but if she was in front desk, it would be a nightmare. Same thing for the person that's in the front desk. And that's when you realize what the position is, what you like working with. That's how I've built my office. That's how the associate and I work so well together, is that we have the same personality, the same energy, the same value system. Perfect. The staff that I'm bringing on now, I'm one person away. I feel like one person away from the dream team. Like the staff that can get the job done, that will do what I need to do to make this office great. Right? And I have a good staff. But I know what it takes to be great. And that's taking shots on people, getting the right people on the bus and going forward. Because I've had that staff. And it's really hard because hiring sucks, training sucks. The unknown of what's gonna happen when they get sick, when they get some pushback, when a patient isn't happy with them, or you have to give them some constructive criticism. How is that going to be handled? You don't know. But you don't settle for less. You need the best talent around you, the best possible team. That's how you get to greatness. Surround yourself with good people that complement you, that value what you value. Every one of those staff members, they interact with me so much, right? But they know who I am and what I stand for. I put those in our core values, and we've been preaching those core values. Our expectations are being put out there. It's a whole process. When you have a new team in place, you have to have the structure, you have to have the foundation, but that has to be representative of who you are and how you're going to run your business. And each little section in your business also has to have their own little personality. It has to be a reflection of you, but it has to be their personality. Optical represents my optical manager. The front desk, her personality needs to be in there. She needs to work to her strengths. Stop trying to be me. Stop trying to be the other person. Stop trying to be the manager before you. When you enter the equation with, I just don't want to mess this up, versus I'm going to do this my way, there's 2 different roads that goes. My way, within the confines of the core values, with the structure I've given, awesome. That will lead to a thriving, amazing work situation. Try not to mess it up and do what the other person did in front of me is a recipe for you being miserable. Right? And that's how I've realized with what I'm doing in here, I don't know what's wrong with me. If I'm in the office and I'm not seeing patients, I go freaking crazy. I hate it. So I play to my strengths. I book my schedule out as compact as I possibly can. I leave time to meet with the associate, meet with my managers, meet with the optical staff. I have more meetings than I ever have in my life consistently. And there's honestly, a million times when I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not have the office meeting. But I know that in order to guide them, to do things the way I want them to be done, to have my culture and personality in the office right now, those are necessary. I get better systems in place, and that is my presence isn't as needed. And that's the biggest, the weakest link for me to scale. And that's what I'm trying to create, but I have to develop my managers. I have to develop their idea of how they work within the confines of the core values I've outlined, right? And also get them confident enough to know when there's pushback or suggestions, this jives with what we do, this doesn't jive with what we do, right? There has to be a clear, definitive set of boundaries. And honestly, I thought that we had that, but I've realized since we've grown, I've had to put those in place. But once I put them in place, I was a little frustrated because I felt like I was just managing the office again. But I put them in place and I watched my managers start to thrive. So it can be done. So simplify, play to your strengths. And the last thing I will tell you, and this is something I talked to my my associate doctor with, is you have to at times have an alter ego. And I always use like Sasha Fierce. I don't know why, for Beyonce. Or like there's just that my dad, this if you ever have seen the movie Over the Top, it's the one of the worst action movies ever, Sylvester Stallone. But whenever he'd go to arm wrestle, he'd turn the hat around. It's a turning the cap. You turn that cap and you're a different person, right? And I saw that with when I was playing college football. The nicest people off the field, when we got into the field, they were a different kind of crazy. Like just, oh, they're not so mild-mannered. They don't give two craps about their bodies or your body. They're just out there playing like a crazy SOB, right? And you're not going to be that crazy person, but when you walk into that exam room, you own that exam room. The associate has had very few opportunities to, have the dry eye. I was telling her how many doors I knocked on. I would have like 20 like dry eye consults in a week. I mean, I loaded myself up. I just kept knocking on doors. If I get 5 to 10%, I'm killing it, right? I always see things as a numbers game. Give me enough numbers and I'll do it. But there's times when I go in and it's, all right, this person needs IPL. We're getting IPL done. And that's what's going to happen, right? You have this mindset. This person's going to go in there and we're going to explain to them what's going on with their eye. Or when you're talking with your staff, you are the Jeff Bezos. You're Elon Musk. You're that mentality. You are the leader of your team. They look at you and they have that respect and you own it. You exude that confidence. You have to have this alter ego. You have to have a false sense of confidence because you're telling them that you know how to do things that you've never really done. Right? Not to the level that you're at. You've led people before, but have you ever run an office? You've run an office before, but have you ever had an associate? You've had a couple of associates. Have you ever had multiple offices? Right? I know what I'm doing. I keep telling you that. I keep telling them that. You know what? It's working. But half that battle was me just looking myself in the mirror and believing that I could do it. I don't know why. Right? There's no good reason except for the fact that I believe in myself and I know if I'm given the opportunity with enough time, I will figure it out. I have that ego, alter ego, and you have to have that belief in yourself because there's going to be times when it sucks. Like I felt that in this process. Like, holy crap, that's a lot of money I just wrote a check for. Oh my goodness. We don't have enough in the bank right now to cover this. Good thing I saved money because I'm not going to be able to pay myself this week. Right? These are things that happen. But believe in yourself. You know you'll figure it out. I've always said, if I fell flat on my face and like had to start over, I start off in a sales position. Because I don't care what it is, I know I can sell whatever I need to. I can get them to buy into what I'm doing. right? And then I build up and I start another office and I do it again, just with the things that I've learned. That's why when I look at, the environment that I've built, a lot of it depends on me because I believe in myself more than anyone else in this profession, right? And that's not saying I know it all, but that's the mentality that I enter with. And that I share with you because I want you to have that belief in yourself. Too many doctors that I talk to that are young or trying to start just are all kind of nervous or scared, afraid to make the wrong decision. The key is don't make a fatal error, but make a decision and fail fast so you can recover quickly. The quicker you fail, the better off you will be. Because if you take 2 years to fail to figure it out, you are 2 years behind. If you can figure that failure out in 2 months, you are that much more ready to succeed, to be on the right path. Fail quickly, right? You need to get as many opportunities to figure out how to practice the way you want, right? Get in there, get your hands dirty, but believe in yourself and get all the data that you can. I am not against collecting data. That's why we have this stinking podcast, right? But at the end of the day, make a decision and go with it. Get advice, get input, get as much as you can. I give a set of advice, and someone else who's higher up and better will give something else. But are you closer to them or are you closer to me? Right? The person that's just starting out, that's maybe a year ahead of you, might even be better than me because they are in the mix. They just went through what you're going through. I feel like I just went through it, but I'm in a different level now. I know that I'm spending so much more on marketing and I'm seeing it work. And I'm like, oh, of course, I would have done that. I should have done this from the get-go. I didn't have the money to do it from the get-go, right? I didn't even have a patient base. And I'm telling you, hey, you got to spend money on marketing. Find out where your revenue is going to be at the office that you're at and just start spending that marketing budget, that percentage right now. Great advice when you have money. Horrible advice if you don't have any, right? You got to figure it out. So realize that everything is contextual, right? The people that are running the $3 million office they've figured it out. They've fought their battles. They've got to this point, but they are very disconnected from the cold start. They're in a different financial position. They have different resources. There's a lot of different variables going on, but you got to remember what they tell you. You're going to get to a point and you're going to do what they do, but you're not going to do it tomorrow. So know who you are. Believe in yourself. Simplify, play to your strengths, and have that alter ego that you're going to figure it out and you're going to crush this, right? That's what I got. We'll have more for you next week. Where has the time gone? We're to the closing thought of the episode, and I have 2 things I was going to share. I'm going to leave you with one because I want to save the other for next week. Looking at them both, this one fit the podcast the best, I believe. A man is not great because he hasn't failed. A man is great because failure hasn't stopped him. Confucius. Listen to the podcast, and that's all I want you to know. Don't let it stop you. When I first started off as a cold start, and I just keep thinking about this as I go through, I would talk to my friend, and we'd be like, hey, if there's money in the bank, we're still in business. That could be a penny, could be $100, could be $100,000. But if there's money in the bank, you ain't dead yet, right? Be really hard to kill. And I mean that in the most basic senses. Find a way to be able to make mistakes, but you have your bases covered. You have backup plans. You have emergency funds. You have ways to get through. I like the Cortez burn the ships mentality, but that doesn't mean be stupid about it, right? You can go all in and still have reserves in case it fails, right? Just have 1 penny in the bank and you're in business. Don't let failure stop you. That's what I have for you. Dr. Lily out.